Welcome to the Human Element Podcast. I'm Blair.
I'm Nick.
So this podcast is about mostly nutrition, but really all things pertaining to human health. This is our first episode. We're going to be talking about the anti-diet movement. So a little background. I am a registered dietitian. I have my master's degree from Florida State University in sports nutrition and exercise physiology. I was the team sports nutritionist for the Miami Dolphins for 2 seasons. I worked at Exos Human Performance for 2 years as well. And now I currently own a business called the Human Element Nutrition, hence the name of the podcast. We specialize in one-on-one behavioral change nutrition. So it's about helping people understand and become confident with nutrition and food as opposed to assigning diet plans or anything of that nature. And we also are releasing some programs which are focused on small college athletic nutrition. So trying to bring nutrition to smaller programs in high schools that can't afford a full-time dietitian, and group nutrition counseling. So couples, families, things like that, trying to make it affordable for them to all get on the same page instead of it just being individual counseling. If you're interested, you can reach me at the Human Element Nutrition on Instagram. My website is humanelementnutrition.com. From there, you can find my email, which is humanelementnutrition@gmail.com.
Yeah, and I'm Nicholas Shikatano, but Nick Schick is way easier. And compared to Blair, I ain't nothing. I'm a student in the process of becoming a dietitian, but outside of that, I mean, I'm going to the University of Alabama, if that means anything to anybody. And really, kind of both of us, but more so me, just an asshole with some opinions.
Oh,
and we're
I'm
recording
definitely an
them.
asshole. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There's going to be some opinions. I mean,
Exactly.
They should be evidence-based, but there will be some passionate opinions on this podcast.
Mostly evidence-based, just so we can't get caught on that technicality. But if you're on Instagram, you can find me at Hion_health. So that's HION_health. And yeah, that's all I have to plug because I have not started a blog yet. So
yeah, cool. Oh yeah. So the website, the blogs, we actually are just now relaunching the blog as far as apparently it's really good for search engine optimization. But so I'm putting more attention. We're going to do weekly blogs and start posting more on the website to drive traffic.
Yeah.
I'm learning a lot about business. So the behind the name, the Human Element, just part of the brief introduction is it's very personal to me because it's a combination of a few things in my life, but it also means a lot to me. The actual meaning behind it. So where the term, like the name actually derived from originally is my handle on like email and that kind of stuff and a lot of apps, gaming apps and that kind of stuff for a long time was Human American, which comes from this really funny old Mad TV bit where an alien was running for president. His name was Smith, John, Human American for president. So that was my handle for a long time. And then I'm obsessed with the Fifth Element. If you're watching on YouTube, like I have a Fifth Element tattoo. And so we just kind of combine those words, but really to me, what it means is that the human is the most important part in all this, which is why I specify that I'm a behavior change dietitian. It's all about finding out your story, incorporating as much of you into this as possible, and really tailoring it to exactly what you need to meet your goals. It's not that I am an expert and I'm going to tell you. I am trying to understand you, the human, the person in front of me, and you are the most important factor in this. I will give you the tools that you need to change and improve your life, hopefully, but ultimately the most important thing is the human element. So just a little background on the name of the business and the name of the podcast.
And I would like to add in there that, a lot of the issues we see with nutrition are because it's not individual. It doesn't deal with the human element. And so his whole business is to work to eliminate that.
Right.
And if I'm off on that,
no,
definitely correct me.
So We will talk about this episode. So, we're still ironing out how exactly we're going to do everything. We actually already have about 7 episodes, but we optimized quality and figuring out how to record properly, and decided we wanted to relaunch with better quality, new imaging, consistency in the podcast. So we will still grow. We will still probably change things, but we did want to, relaunch. We had some guests on, and the quality was just not there. So
not that the guests were bad at all. So
right,
if
the
Dr.
audio
Foley
quality.
and
Sorry, yeah, Dr.
Tony
Foley
are listening, they were fantastic. But
I don't think Tony's listening, but Dr. Foley might be. But yeah, so just wanted to relaunch quality. So we do have episodes. We're going to leave them on YouTube, and we might release them at some point as our lost episodes. But we're in the middle of a relaunch. So this episode is about, like we mentioned, the anti-diet movement and what that means. And our first episode and the ones we're getting rid of actually was about the same thing, but I believe we've both changed our tune now that the movement has gained steam and kind of evolved. I don't agree with the anti-diet movement. So the whole premise of this episode is kind of diving into this current like diet culture, anti-diet culture, anti-diet, diets are bad, and that kind of stuff that's evolving in nutrition. And I think a lot of even dietitians are not great at what they do, because we're entering 2 extremes in nutrition is what I'm noticing, which is either not looking into the research because this is what the recommendations are. This is what it says. I lost weight. I did bodybuilding. I did whatever. So eat how I eat. This is correct. Or everybody's a snowflake and let's just have cookies and love ourselves, which is more the anti-diet movement. But the reason I bring this up is because, yes, we should love ourselves and cookies are okay. We are still practitioners. Yeah, I love cookies. I mean, I have ice cream most nights, but we are practitioners. We are the supposed experts. And actually, I'll get into that too. Anybody that calls themselves an expert is bullshitting. Like no expert calls himself an expert. So whenever you see someone whose Instagram or whatever says, "Oh, nutrition expert," they're likely like Precision Nutrition 1, if that. Like they kind of, they've been bodybuilding for a long time and have abs. That doesn't make you an expert. And to my point, what I really mean is your personal experience means jack shit to me. If your experience, your expertise is based on the clients you've served and the knowledge you have and how well you can convey it to people, because it worked for you does not make you an expert. I don't care if you lost 250 pounds. You are not a weight loss expert. You're an expert of yourself.
And the reason why we both say that if somebody's calling themselves an expert, they're not an expert. It was really best explained to me by my aunt, who's a PhD in accounting. When I was a freshman in undergrad, which I'm currently a 6th year, God help me. So when I was a freshman in undergrad, she told me that, she goes, "You'll realize the more you know that you don't know." So, and that's basically a rephrasing of that. So when you think of somebody as an expert, you think of them as like, knowing pretty much everything that there is in this field. Not really. So they might be specialized. They could be as close as you can get to knowing the cutting edge of science on like cancer, but they're not an oncology expert. Things like that. Like they know that they don't know the details of the rest of oncology. So if you have somebody who's calling themselves a nutrition expert, promise they're way, way, way off. It's like Blair said, they're probably level 1 at precision nutrition certification. But anyway, back to this movement, the anti-diet movement in this episode. Really, the episode is a little bit of like kind of us going, what happened to the movement? Right. It was fantastic. We agreed with it. I mean, it was all, it was eat cookies and love yourself, which is fantastic. We should all eat cookies as long as we're not allergic, and we should all love ourselves. But I mean, in light of a better word, the movement got hijacked because it got too popular too fast and it lost its nuance. And that's what we'll get into.
Right. And I think the big thing with it too is when you have unsupported claims, it's a problem, especially in nutrition and things like that. So if there is science available, and we did an episode, one of our last episodes, I'm sure we'll do something similar again about how research works. And, we'll dive into making sure you understand, one single study means nothing, but it can give you a guiding hand. It's not that you can take this to mean like, yes, this is definitive, but one study is better than no studies. So it's still adding to your evidence. But there's a lot of claims that are even coming out for this anti-diet movement where I've heard that apparently diets cause eating disorders. And that is so bogus to me. Just logically, nobody who, and I won't say nobody, but if you logically consider it, it might help a eating disorder like come to fruition. It might bring it to light. It might accentuate an eating disorder. But if you don't have any disordered eating patterns, and almost nobody doesn't have disordered eating patterns. So there is a difference between eating disorder and disordered eating. But if you don't have an eating disorder, going on a diet is not going to give you one. You have a disordered mindset towards food. You have an unhealthy relationship with food. You have disordered eating patterns, and the diet is not helping. But nobody is going to start counting calories or going to intermittent fasting and then develop an eating disorder. It's almost impossible. Eating disorders are very mentally driven. So to just say that a diet is going to cause an eating disorder is astounding to me. And like, Nick, you might have an opinion on this too, but I've heard that quite a few times from these anti-diet rebels or whatever you want to call them. But that's one of the more astounding things to me that's come out of the movement and why I actually disagree with it largely.
Well, and that's a perfect example of stripping away all the nuance from it and sort of in a way to make yourself right no matter what. Because you can say diets cause eating disorders. And if somebody disagrees, Blair and I disagree because there's so much nuance to it. I promise you they'll just point to, the plethora of people who had disordered eating or were already inclined to an eating disorder or may have even already had an eating disorder. And when they just started dieting and then it became like official, quote unquote, that they had it. It's exactly that. It's stripping the nuance away so that you can be right without putting in any effort. And not to be completely sort of slanderous with saying that they're not putting in any effort. It's just that you don't really know. It's a lot of people making claims that don't understand nutrition. And that's why they have to take the nuance out of it because that's the level that they understand.
Right. And I like how you brought up the concept of having to be right. And I think that's something that it happens a lot, but it's especially happening. Nutrition is one of the younger sciences, and it's evolving at such a rapid rate because it's one of the fastest growing sciences. But there's a difference between, having to be right and wanting to learn more. So it's people should be, and just to put it in perspective, the point of science is to prove something wrong. You are trying your best to make that thing incorrect. So when you look at research, the way it is set up is like, all right, so let's take this thing, and let's put everything we can towards it so that it fails. And if it still succeeds, despite all the failure that we threw at it, it is correct. At least in this case. And so when you look at science, there's something called a p-value, which is basically the confidence or like how likely it is that thing occurred because of your intervention. And if the p-value is 0.05 or lower, which means that 95% of the time it occurred because of the intervention, the thing that we're testing, that's strong. So just understanding that, like, we need to approach that to prevent confirmation bias, which is you should look to be wrong. And if you are still proven right, then great. But if you are aiming to be right, you will find evidence to make you right. And that doesn't make you right. It's confirmation bias. You are getting to be right. It's more important for you to be right than to be humble or humiliated by being wrong.
And another example too of this, because confirmation bias happens to everybody, but an example of this happening on, I mean, in really the worst position it could happen. Not to throw Dr. Lane Norton, he has a PhD in nutrition, under the bus, but he was explaining when he really fell into his confirmation bias in his PhD studies, and he kept running the data because he thought the data was wrong because he had an opinion in a certain direction. And that was when his professor or advisor, somebody, explained, said, well, okay, your technique's fine, your data's coming out the same way each time, you're probably just chasing validating your hypothesis, which is exactly what he was doing. He was kind of trying to satisfy his confirmation bias, and he was able to learn from that and know exactly what that looks like. And so we all just sort of have to identify when we're trying to be right or when we're trying to learn something.
Right. And what makes it more difficult is that's data that he's trying to add confirmation bias to. And it does, I mean, one of the more famous examples is the Ansel Keys study, which is showing that saturated fat causes heart disease. And he omitted, I think it was 16 cities that didn't fit his trend of increased saturated fat increases heart disease, because he wanted that to be true. And we still promote that to this day based on a study that's been debunked. But when you make claims that don't have research, that don't have data, and is too new, like anti-diet, there's no way to, you basically can just be right because nobody can prove you wrong. And that's not how the burden of proof works.
And
I can't prove a negative. You have to prove a positive.
Yeah, it gets even deeper than that, because I mean, so this is the anti-diet movement, or the anti-diet diet, or whatever we want to call it, but there's no official definition of diet either. So not only has any research not reflected this movement, they have to take a step back and figure out what it is this movement is against. Like, what is a diet? I mean, Blair's got it in the background of the screen.
If you're on YouTube, you can't, or unless you're on YouTube, sorry, you can't see it, but I have on the board behind me, diet, the kind of food that a person, animal, or community habitually eat. So can anybody really be anti-diet? That is the origin of the term diet, and dietitian is the things we eat consistently. So you aren't on or off of a diet. Your diet is high calorie, low calorie, nutritive, non-nutritive, so it's fluctuating. Your diet changes every single day unless you eat the exact same foods in the exact same quantities constantly. But so in recent history, diet has come to mean fad diet, or, a specific dietary protocol. So for example, keto or intermittent fasting or vegan, and that's, people have a hard time with vegan being a fad diet. It's a fad diet. Was it here 20 years ago? It came out of nowhere and blew up. Yes, people did eat that way, but it wasn't like a self-identity like it is now. We will do an episode on vegan, just so you guys know.
And the anti-diet movement seems to, well, actually, no, I'm not going to say that. I've really, based on the anti-diet movement, defined diet sort of in an easy way to identify what a diet is something extreme, for one. Is it like keto, where you're on one side of the spectrum, you're cutting out all carbohydrates, or as close to all as you can get? Or is it like carnivore, where you're only eating meat, things like that? Those would be the diets that they're looking at. But I mean, really, you could look at it and be like, okay, is this eating pattern trying to reduce nutrition and health and disease down to one thing, whether it be animal products, carbohydrates, plant products? That's probably more along the lines of what the anti-diet movement is against.
Right. And so I think too, like we're calling it diet culture. It's being termed anti-diet culture, diet culture this, diet culture that. But what they really mean is it's not a diet culture. It's the image-driven society we live in. You know, it's external motivators like having abs or equating having abs to health, like anti-social media. You know, Instagram. I don't care how passionate or you know deep you try to get with your caption. If you're posting a picture of your ass, it is not nobody like less than 10% of people are reading that. They're double tapping on your butt, squeezing some Gymshark shorts, and they're not reading your motivational post. You know, so that is and I we mentioned it in the lost episodes. I'll mention it 1,000 times, but having a really solid figure and then posting a post like which was very like trendy for a while of how to have a beach body step 1 or bikini body step 1 have a body step 2 put on a bikini. When you have visible abs and like almost no body fat on you and you are conventionally attractive and you post something like that, it misses the mark. You are not inspiring people who feel insecure in a bathing suit. If someone who looked exactly like their body type posted the same thing, that would be more inspirational. Look at her confidence despite not having visible abs. You know, but people are so image driven and Instagram adds to it. And, you know, our society worships beauty. It's not a diet culture thing. It's an image culture, you know, and that's the problem is we're saying anti-diet, but dieting is secondary to this desire for aesthetic beauty.
And the idea of body weight or more of your body composition and that being diet culture. So what the anti-diet movement is saying is that diet culture gives people in smaller bodies more value, or at least that's what it seems like they're saying. It's a little bit over the map, but that
Yeah.
doesn't really matter. But basically that right there, that smaller bodies have more value because they're smaller, which I think we can all say that small person, large person doesn't have any different value. It's still a person. It's still a human, somebody with feelings. So we would all agree that they have equal inherent value. But I do want to clarify too, while society is very image driven, we need to trying to put the words together as I go. But we need to clarify, what are we calling inherent value as a human, and what is giving somebody more value as like a sexual partner? Because that's trying to tease out like instinct and just innate human preference
Right.
compared to value as a human.
Well, you can trace that back to the puritanical beginnings of the country.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of other cultures are not as sexually repressed, and we're kind of in the infancy of, and I know this is seemingly getting off topic, but the image drive for us is because of sexual repression, because of, you know, the country is largely puritanical, Catholic, and that kind of stuff in its roots. So where you know I'm agnostic, I'll admit it, because I was raised Catholic and I stopped. I got tired of apologizing for being human, but in repressing normal human function like sex, there becomes this like everybody becomes sexualized because of that repression. And so like Nick's saying, like, is it a value as a sexual partner or a value as a human? Well, those almost become intertwined and inseparable because of this consistent sexual repression for so long, you know. And to bring it back to diet and image and that kind of stuff, it's even in our language. Attractive means physically attractive, period. Nobody ever says that person's so attractive because they're nice or they have a wonderful smile or they're complimentary. You know, they don't say that person's attractive because he is like hilarious or plays guitar or she dances incredibly well, which are all attractive qualities. But attractive means physically beautiful. And so what magnets are attractive. Attractive means drawn to, you know, so if you're drawn to someone, regardless of the physical beauty, or whatever the reason is, that is an attraction, you know. So I think it's just in our innate language that if you say attractive, it means physically beautiful. And that's a problem where a lot of this comes from, the worship of physical form, the worship of physical attractiveness in our movies, in our magazines, on Instagram, and ask any dietitian on Instagram, like, if you are a knowledgeable person putting out good information, you are swimming through a sea of ab and ass pictures who have hundreds of thousands of followers selling their bullshit diet plan versus someone who actually can make a difference to someone having, 10K or less, so it's that, but that's where the worship comes in. People would rather follow someone they wish they looked like than someone that can help them feel healthy and happy and confident in who they are.
And that's almost inseparable from, I mean, as you said, it's pretty close to what people would consider somebody's individual value in American culture. And I never even thought about, I mean, the Puritans and God forbid people dance or they've got the devil, let alone have sex.
Yeah, what
But
was
even
the Victorian era where they invented tablecloths to cover table legs because it was a leg, so it was sexy. I think it was Victorian. It might have been Elizabethan, but I think it was Victorian era.
I need a tablecloth.
Yeah, I'm getting too turned on by this table.
Yeah, exactly. My setup is distracting me. But I would definitely say that this hypersexualization affects women more than men. Absolutely. I think that's impossible to deny. I mean, for instance, the dad bod was a huge thing a couple years ago. Maybe it still is, but that was like the coveted physique was the best way I can describe it for anybody who doesn't know is kind of like looks out of shape, beer belly. You're like
Kind of
sixth
fat,
year.
kind of fit.
Yeah. You're like sixth year undergrad student who's been partying. I promise I haven't been partying.
But, but here's the thing with that too is we need to also accept how much people of the same sex do to impress each other. So I know I'm talking about biological sex. I'm not going to get into the whole million genders thing, but like,
yeah, this won't be
standard,
a discussion about men, women, and non-binary.
Standard binary sexes. Women wear heels and makeup and nice clothes and things of that nature more to impress other women than they do men. Men have abs and muscles to impress other dudes more than women. Are there women out there that love abs and arms? Sure, absolutely. Not going to argue that. But when it comes down to selecting a partner, 90%, 99%, whatever pull any number out of your ass, but most women would rather have a guy who is emotionally stable, emotionally intelligent, treats them well, communicates. The list of things that a woman values in a partner is there's a million things you could probably pick in varying intensities that are about treatment and personality before abs and arms. They want you to be physically fit. They want you to be free of possible health conditions and things like that. But that even stems from a child rearing thing. They want someone who's going to be healthy and be there as a part of their children's lives, as opposed to someone who works themselves, is no fun, never drinks, never goes out to eat, never does anything enjoyable because they have to maintain a physical beauty standard. So that's the more you accept and admit to yourself that you're trying to get abs because other dudes have abs, the happier you're going to be about it. Like, do you have abs, Nick?
No, absolutely
you got a fiance though, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't have abs, and
okay,
I have a girlfriend.
Does that really count? So her and I started dating in high school when I did have abs.
But she didn't leave you when you lost your abs.
Correct. The start of the pandemic, I've gained so much weight since then.
Yeah, but that's the point and to bring it back to diet, it's not they're saying anti-diet, but what they mean is anti-beauty standards, anti-image, external motivators. And so internal and external motivators, internal are things that come from within. They're the only motivation that actually lasts or means anything. You want to be healthier for your children, internal motivator. You want to eat a certain way to have abs, external motivator. So the truth is, and I've gone through such a range. I'm 35, I'll be 36 this year. From the start of nutrition, I was 100 pounds overweight, 5'7", 285 in high school. I was diagnosed as morbidly obese. I literally lost over 100 pounds, went down to 175 and had abs. And then now I weigh like 215, but I've been all over the map, and I've tried every diet on the planet. I've done all of them. I won't knock or have a strong opinion about a diet unless I've tried it. And what it boils down to is, when I had abs, I was still a fat kid in my head because I never dealt with the mentality. I never worked on the mindset. I never changed in my head, but I wouldn't say that dieting is what did it to me. I didn't deal with myself. And so what I can say, though, is all those diets I tried, all those diets I failed, taught me something. They're learning tools if you let them. If you are under the guise of a professional and someone who knows how to help you learn from them. If a client came to me and said, I really want to try keto, I'm not going to say, no, keto's stupid, diet culture. That's a motivator. Let's try keto, but let's make sure we do it healthy. And if you fail, then let's learn from it. That's the important thing. Intermittent fasting taught me to respond to my hunger cues. Do I love intermittent fasting? No. I think it's over heralded as the healthiest diet on the planet, and it literally shreds 8,000 pounds of body fat a minute. And, people who become advocates for diet do it so zealously that there is no other way to eat. I do think that's a problem. But I think everybody intermittent fasts. Unless you're waking up every 2 hours to take a protein shake during sleep, you're fasting. That's an intermittent fast from the time you go to bed to the time you wake up. So I think diets can be great educational tools, great learning opportunities. Everything can be a great learning opportunity. And if I hadn't tried those diets, I wouldn't know as much about myself or how I want to run my practice. So to just say I'm anti-diet it's too blanket. It's like saying MyFitnessPal sucks. Okay. Does everybody like counting calories and living inside of an app? No. But there are people who are very driven and motivated by numbers, and they want to do that. And if it's done under the guise, if I assign your macros, your calories, and your micronutrient profile, and give you the numbers to aim for every day, MyFitnessPal is wonderful for some people because that's what makes sense to them. Everybody is different. So to just say, eat cookies, love yourself, that's nutrition. No, you need to be a practitioner, and you need to hold people accountable. And it's about health. It is not about abs. It is not about shaming diets. It is not about anything but improving people's health and happiness.
And it's interesting because, like Blair said at the beginning, we've kind of switched our stance on whether we're anti-diet. I mean, it started out as, anti-extreme restrictive diets. It was combined that with body positivity and, kind of just generally promoting people in the right direction. It included HAES, which is health at every size. And I believe the main tenet of HAES is that you can pursue health outside of the guise of weight loss. Now, it was a little bit of marketing errors for them that kind of helped spin this issue, and I'll get into that later. But I mean, the movement, I would say, was overall good. It was great. It was fantastic. I mean, it gained steam so fast for a reason. And then, as I stated in the beginning, it lost its nuance. People took health at every size, that slogan, and they didn't dive into the details, which is, I mean, that's what nuance is for anybody who doesn't quite know. And so they took that as, oh, you can be healthy at any size. And then they took that and they're like, well, now BMI doesn't matter. And then that went into, okay, well, anybody trying to lose weight is fat phobic because you can be healthy at every size. And it got way, way out of control. And that's what made us dial back. That's what made us revisit this topic. So if you wanted to listen or watch the initial episodes, the lost episodes are still on YouTube. Shameless plug.
Right. Yeah. Check it out and see how we've evolved. And I think you bring up a great point about how movements change, because I think it's true of health at every size. It did begin as a pursuit of health at every size, just weight loss. And I agree, weight loss should not be weight loss should be secondary to improved health. But it became, like you mentioned, fat phobic, and I think feminism fell under the same thing. I used to like align with feminism, but then it's became overly directed towards bringing men down. Anti-man is kind of what it started becoming. And I think it's about equality and equity. It's about making sure that all humans are seen in the same light. And the issue with it too is any movement for change is slow. There are still men alive today that remember when women weren't allowed to vote, that remember when black people weren't allowed to go to the same water fountain or school, so I'm not saying that's right, but they're alive, and some of them are policymakers.
I mean, that would be my grandparents,
right?
who are still
and
alive.
In the South, there's a lot of them, but like the thing is, every generation is less homophobic, less racist, less misogynistic. And it's a marathon, not a sprint. Trying to force it makes you look and sound like an asshole. Like it is, you just kind of have to. I didn't create the racist, patriarchal world of the past, but it exists, and that's the world we live in, is moving towards change. But change is slow, just like weight loss, just like health change. It's slow. Doing anything fast is not going to be a lasting change.
Delayed gratification's a bitch.
Yeah, and
Weight
we live
loss,
in an instant satisfaction culture.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's painful because, let's say I went a whole day and I had mostly vegetables. I had a normal, or a moderate, let's not say normal because that's a little odd.
Yeah,
a moderate amount of animal products, blah, blah, blah. Why aren't I seeing the results? Like logically, that you're not going to see results in a day, but it's that deep down that you really want those results so bad. And the delayed gratification is mentally painful.
Yeah, it's the dudes that do a set of pull-ups and then lift their shirt up and check their abs in the mirror at the gym. Like one set of not even an ab-focused exercise, and nothing changed, dude. Hate to break it to you.
I'll do that too. I'll do like lat pull downs and catch myself like later that week checking under the arm to see how those lats are developing. It's like, oh, cool, you did back twice this week.
Yeah, check in a month and a half.
Yeah,
pictures. But so health at every size, and I think that's important. That we did talk about the first episode the first time around. I want to talk about it this time too. Is so like you mentioned, it has become about fat phobia, and you can be healthy at every size. And I think health is one of those things too. The term health and healthy has become just like attractive. It's overused to mean something very specific. So, for instance, foods are not healthy. If an apple is fresh, it's healthy. If it's rotten, it's unhealthy. But foods are healthful or nutrient dense. You are healthy based on your consumption and how much, like what your diet is. But a food is not healthy. I really don't like the terms of like healthy this, healthy that, because Oreos can fit into a healthy diet. Am I promoting Oreos? No, but they're delicious. And if you want to have them in moderation, great. Yeah, Nick is promoting Oreos. So
yeah. Everything in this universe is poison. It's all about the dose. You have too much oxygen in your air, you'll pass out and die. You have
toxins.
Yeah.
People don't know how toxicity is a constant accumulation of something to a point that it is toxic, that it affects your health negatively. And that includes things like iron that we all desperately need for blood flow.
Yep. And too much water will kill you. Too many apples will kill you. Take anything, whatever you think the healthiest thing out there is. Kale.
What's
Are you?
water? Too much water. Hyponatremia is
Yeah,
what it causes. Yeah.
hyponatremia and
Um.
hypokalemia, or just all sort of electrolyte
Yeah.
issues, because electrolytes follow the water, water follows the electrolytes. All of it's We ain't
So
getting into that.
yeah. So basically, getting down to the health at every size. Pursuit of health at every size, absolutely. But being healthy at every size is what I want to talk about, which is if you want to love yourself and be mentally healthy and confident at whatever size you are, yes, absolutely agree. Wholeheartedly agree. But you cannot convince me that you are biometrically healthy no matter what size you are. I am not as healthy of a person, or was not as healthy as a person at 285 and 40 plus BMI, which we both mentioned BMI. So BMI is your body mass index. It's a height to weight ratio created. It's a tracking, or what's the word I'm looking for? Screening tool. And now there's been this whole like BMI sucks. This is why BMI sucks. But BMI is an accurate screening tool. Yes, it's created for health insurance purposes and anthropometric measurements. But when you look at the obese BMI, which is 30 or higher, very small percentage of those people are bodybuilders who have a healthy body fat percentage. If you take a population and their BMI is 30 or higher, it is likely, incredibly likely, and almost certain that that population is over fat and technically obese. You know, to take it and say my BMI, which is probably, I mean, I can even do it real quick, 28 or something to that. You know, let's do it real quick. We're live right now. We'll get my BMI going.
I'll get mine too.
My height, 5'10", 216. 30.1, 31.0. I'm obese, you know, but my body fat percentage is under 20. I'm not, you know, so that is where it's a problem. I'm one of those people that falls under the obese category and is not. But that is the exception. Most people don't fall into that. You know, yes, a lot of people might and some people do, but it's good for screening. It's just like stereotypes. They are accurate to a major portion of the population, but taking something like that and saying every person in that population, you know, it's not individual. The larger the scale, the more accurate BMI is.
And let the record show my BMI is also, it's 30.6. That also puts me in the obese category. So it's not like we're sitting here with abs talking shit about this movement. Like,
right.
This movement and health at every size is it's designed for people like us who and helping. I don't even know what I'm trying to say here.
Right. So basically, you can be within the obese and overweight category and absolutely be healthy. Mm-hmm. My case in point, me, Nick. But when you're hitting morbid obesity, you know, when your BMI is 40 or higher, when you are not, you're like, when you are over fat. So that's the thing is we use the term weight too much. Overweight, weight, lose weight. You don't want to lose weight. You want to lose fat. You don't want to be overweight, or you don't want to be over fat. Overweight is fine, you know, but when you are over fat, when your body fat index, body fat percentage is too high for your size, and just so you're aware, healthy range for men is 12 to 20%. Healthy range for women is 15 to 30%. But just putting that in mind, so when you are in the obese category, over fat, every 10% reduction in body weight, it equates to about a 50% reduction in heart rate risk factors. You know, you have an increased chance of diabetes. You have an increased chance of heart disease and heart failure. You have increased chance of blood pressure. Obesity in and of itself, being over fat, is characterized by chronic low-grade inflammation. You are constantly inflamed just by having too much fat on your body.
I do want to take a second, though, as we said, BMI is a screening tool, and that is that. It if you have a high BMI, you are more likely to be unhealthy. Your inflammation is more likely to be elevated. You're more likely to develop type 2 diabetes, heart disease. I mean, especially because heart disease is a lot of an inflammation based problem. And as Blair said or was saying, having too much body fat increases your inflammation. So I just want to be clear about what we're saying is BMI is used to screen, and we're going through what it's more likely that you will have more body fat than maybe you should, and that your metabolism, your biomarkers aren't where they should be. That would put you in metabolically unhealthy.
Right. So I think the other point too is that just because you're overweight, if you are making the journey towards being healthy, that is a huge step. Even if someone can, and I think the part that we have lost to health at every size is that being thin or in shape does not mean you are healthy. There are a lot of people like bodybuilding, not healthy. Those people, I mean, a lot of them come out with like hormone issues,
And eating disorders,
chronically underfed, eating disorders. And, people like with Instagram, we'll bring it up again and again. People post their abs, not their eating disorder. People post their vacation, not their debt. So there's just because you look a certain body type does not mean you are healthy or unhealthy. That is the premise behind health at every size. However, it is turned into, if you don't think I'm healthy at 5'2", 250 pounds, then you're fat phobic. And it's not a fat protection. It's not a protection saying that everybody who is, no matter their weight, is healthy. It is that you can't make a vast, I can track the trend, like Nick was saying. I can screen down to the fact that being a certain body type, being a certain weight, falling under certain BMIs are characterized by an increased risk of health factors. Being underweight has its own health factors, so it's not black and white, cut and dry like that. It is, there are always nuances, there are always exceptions, but turning health at every size, or HAES, to no matter what, I'm healthy, or you are a judgmental asshole and fat phobic, is not the point of the movement. You can't just sacrifice actually trying to be healthy and taking your diet into account and exercising more and just say like, well, I don't have to do those because I'm healthy at whatever size I want to be. No, you still have to pursue health. You don't have to lose weight to be healthier, but you do have to pursue health.
And here's the thing too. So let's say, because I've never had my blood levels of anything tested.
You should do that.
I definitely should.
I just did it.
Yeah. So sitting here, like, I can't tell you that I'm healthy. I don't know what my glucose tolerance is. I don't know what my A1C is. I don't know what my lipid profile looks like. I definitely need to get on that and test that, because
you should do that.
I should definitely do that, especially with my fear of developing type 2 diabetes or dying of heart disease.
Does it run in your family?
High blood pressure does.
Okay.
So, but anyway, if you're at whatever size you're at, you're taking steps to pursue health, which is what HAES is for. You can pursue health outside of body weight. And like Blair said, body weight is secondary to overall health. So if you're actively reducing your blood lipid levels, if you're reducing your A1C, which A1C is long-term glucose control, blood sugar control, if you're doing that, one, you're making progress. That's fantastic. Like, props to you. And then if you make it through your life and you don't die of some nutrition related disease, props, you won. You won.
Right.
Like, you died in the same status as a metabolically healthy person. And that, I think that's probably what HAES was getting at. But the issue is it's marketing. It's a terrible name. It's like when people say defund the police, which we're not going to get into politics, but what they mean is reform the police. I think
right.
like people can get behind reform instead of taking all of the funding away. You can just redistribute funding, which is the same thing. You just need to market it properly. So Health at Every Size did the exact same thing that Defund the Police did and made it something that's very catchy. It caught a lot of people. It caught some of the people they probably shouldn't have because now they've taken it too far, but it also turned away a ton of people. And then the people that have taken it too far have also turned away a ton of people, like Blair and myself.
Right. And so it's and kind of what you're alluding to, and actually we can have this in another episode, but I've since, so Clubhouse, the hot new social media which everybody's getting on, I love
Can
it.
we
It's the best social media I've ever used. So
Yeah.
we'll plug Clubhouse real quick, which is basically, it's digital conference halls is the way I explain it. So it's invite only, it's iPhone only, which is funny because I've been an Android user my whole life, and this is my first iPhone, and then I get this app.
Well,
But
here's the thing that I want to get at real quick is it's invite only, and you see people posting about it on every other social media. It's like a social media flex. It's like
oh yeah,
you're standing in front of a nice car, just like, hey, look what I got. Like, oh,
yeah.
look at this invite
This
I
is my
got.
booty picture.
Yeah,
I'm not going to do that, but I am going to flex my Clubhouse.
exactly.
So basically, it's my space because Instagram, most social medias are very disingenuous, and it's very hard to come across as genuine on them. Some people can do it, that's great, but there's no posting, there's no messaging, there's a profile that kind of explains who you are and it links to your other socials, but it's audio. You come in, it's live, there's no recording, you get your one take, and people can feed off your energy. That's why I like it. It's because it's a legit conversation. If you don't know what you're talking about, people can tell, and that's it. You're done.
And I
So
promise, people can tell.
yeah. Oh yeah. But yeah, so I came up with this term called nutrition scapegoating, which is the idea kind of behind anti-diet, kind of behind health at every size, which is people want to point the finger at something and call it the bad guy or the good guy. Gluten's the bad guy, sugar's the bad guy, this is the bad guy, that's the bad guy. That's the problem with that, is you are picking one thing and you're just throwing all of your hatred or weight into this idea that it is the cause of everyone's problems. Or it's the salvation, like, oh, plant-based is the salvation. Like, and we'll talk about it in the vegan episode. I hate that means vegan. Everybody should be plant-based. I don't care if you eat meat or not, be plant-based.
50% of your 50% of your diet or more should
Should
consist of
plants.
plants.
I mean, honestly,
period.
I would go higher. I would say 70% of your diet, 50% of your food coming from animal protein and eggs. I mean, like 70+% of your diet should be.
But like
plants.
just to be plant-based, the basis,
Right.
the majority of your diet needs to be plants.
Like, so shut up, carnivore. That's dumb.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's nutritional scapegoating, is pointing the finger instead of, and I had someone tell me one time, when you point a finger at something, you got three pointing back at you. So that's the thing, is you often are the problem. And that's, I mean, shameless plug, that's how I run my business, is let's deal with you. People don't want to deal with themselves, whether that's mentally, emotionally, mental health, nutrition, whatever. You have to deal with you and actually learn and understand the real education. Get rid of the myths, lay a solid foundation, and deal with your fucking self to move forward. It's not easy. It's not comfortable. It's not what most people want to do, but it's what they need. And, quit scapegoating and fucking deal with your problems. Deal with yourself. Go see mental health therapists. Hire a dietitian. Fucking do the work and get shit done, instead of blaming it on other people and blaming it on diets and all. I mean, quit blaming shit and blame yourself for more things, and the world will be a better place.
Well, and that's the benefit of working with a dietitian like Blair, who's going to help you with counseling and really get down to the cause. And I'm sure he'll tease out any image issues you have. And with the group counseling or family counseling, you'll be able to identify who's holding you back. Because I mean, usually these ideas come around when you have more than one person around you kind of propping up these ideas, saying, oh, it's this diet is why, or chronic dieting is why I can't do this or that. And chronic dieting is another thing. We'll get into that definitely in another episode, because that has its own issues, but not in the way that the anti-diet movement currently talks about it. So, but that's the benefit of taking accountability, and it is hard. And so having an expert like Blair there to help you, who's experienced with it on a personal level and a professional level. He's helped himself and he has helped others hit the same goals or similar goals that you want.
Yeah. And I appreciate that. I mean,
Yeah.
And I think you like alluded to, I think we're going to get in just a minute into the trend. I found one. So I think this week's trend is going to be a mix of the term biohacking and
God, we're going in,
and the word metabolism too. So we'll talk on it real quick. But I think the important thing you hit on is, so I didn't have notes I've written on my desk. I have a glass desk, so I write notes while we're talking. Episodes that we're going to look forward to doing is tracking, how to, appropriate tracking. Maybe we'll just mention it. It doesn't have to be a whole episode. Exercise versus nutrition for weight loss or fat loss. I think that's a really good topic. And then nutrition scapegoating. And those might all be one episode, but I just have notes written down. But so I think it's important. Right before we started recording, Nick and I were talking, and I was nerding out about this Excel sheet that I created where I'm tracking the date that I weigh, how much I weigh. I take a body composition once a month. I count how many rest days, untracked days of eating, and what my average calorie per day tracked was. And I also take progress pictures, but it's a lot of information. It really takes me like 5-10 minutes at most to do it, but it helps me know consistently what all the factors are. And I can't say like, I've been eating 2,500 calories a day, but I haven't lost any weight. But when I look, I had 4 untracked days that week, so like that's, that kind of stuff is, but Nick mentioned his blood markers. And if you try to make a claim that you're healthy, which Nick never said that he was healthy, but if you make a claim that you are healthy and you aren't getting blood panels done,
you're a fraud.
You need to track, because you can get blood panels done and they can all be bad. And then you can get them done again after following a healthier eating pattern or cutting back on your caloric consumption or whatever it is that your eating issue is. And your health markers have improved but are still bad. That is a step towards healthy. That is improvement. So it's not, single numbers mean nothing, and not tracking anything is the bane of false claims. Like you can't say that you are healthy because you feel like you're healthy. You have to go and get data. Tracking and data is the king of really nailing down exactly what is changing, improving, and how things are moving. If you don't have a tracking system in place, please reach out to me and let's talk. I mean, it's just, I know it's daunting, but it doesn't have to be.
You also don't have to be as tense with the data as Blair is. Remember, we were talking about people who are data driven, and as if it has not been clear already, we'll come out and say it. Blair's a huge nerd. He's seems to be very data driven. Hence that tattoo on his arm. Just saying.
The Fifth Element's cool, bro.
Dude, when we first started talking, I thought you were going to be like this like dude bro dietitian because you worked for the Dolphins. And then when I finally saw the tattoo and we talked about it, I was like, oh, this dude's a nerd.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah. So it's funny because my girlfriend on our first date told me she couldn't stop staring at my tattoo. She's like, I just was staring at it the whole time.
Yeah, but anyway, if you're not that is a lot to keep track of. I promise I don't keep track of that. You can always.
I don't think it is. For the average person, maybe, but there's ways that's the thing too, is if MyFitnessPal seems like I mentioned, don't go and make your own calories on MyFitnessPal. You need to reach out. It's a very small fee for me to figure out your, if that's all you need is your, calorie and macro goals, and you want to use MyFitnessPal, that doesn't cost very much. But that is better than doing it yourself because there's too many variables. But I'll also give you strategies on how to use MyFitnessPal so that it's not living in an app every time you eat. You know, there's ways to make it a lot easier than what people do. But
Yeah.
I
And
don't think it's a lot of data. It's really, I mean, it might sound like it, but it's like I said,
it sounds like a lot of data to
it
me.
takes 5 or 10 minutes a week. It's not like I'm, spending all day getting these like Excel sheets ready.
I see Blair at his computer like 10 minutes every night, just type it in. Yes, I weigh this. My body fat percentage is this. Like,
yeah.
But everybody says like meet me halfway. Meet yourself right where you are.
Yeah.
Figure out exactly, what your lifestyle is. For me, with the pandemic, I was not very active. Like I said earlier in this, I've gained a good bit of weight. I mean, 10 pounds when I was at my heaviest through this pandemic, 10 pounds in less than 10 months. Like that's,
I gained like 20. I shot up. Yeah. But
well,
we're good
there
now.
we go. So now you know about both of us. Like we're all gaining weight through this pandemic. And I looked around at my lifestyle and I said, I'm not as active as I could be. I don't eat or as I should be, not could be. We could all do more, but I wasn't even getting the recommended 30 minutes of activity a day.
Right.
I'm not eating as many vegetables as I should be. And so I just, that's easy data to track for people who aren't super inclined to track data yet. Did you get activity every day? Some people, it's that 10,000 steps. Did you have a vegetable, at least one type of vegetable with every meal? That was a huge win for me at the start of the year, was just, having vegetables with every meal in a day. That was fantastic. Now you look in my fridge, there's currently a 100% vegetarian. It's not vegan. Actually, it's not even vegetarian. But anyway, it's like 99% plants. It's a soup, and I'll consume more of that than anything else in my fridge. So kind of meet yourself exactly where you are and take these small steps. They are small. It's painful because you want the satisfaction immediately. You have to give in and allow the delayed gratification to work its magic. But that can be your data ultimately. Was I active today? Yes or no? There's your data point. Did I have a vegetable with every meal, or one meal if you're really not inclined to eat vegetables? Did I have a vegetable with dinner? Yes or no? Like those are data points too. You don't have to track all of these things that Blair's tracking, and that's sort of where health at every size started. I mean, I keep coming back to this. I know we say we're against it, but we're still for what the beginning of the movement was. But
right.
So
yeah,
I know that was a long.
Well, that's our new take on anti-diet.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna do our trend. We're gonna wrap episodes up with a trend or fad or something that's occurring in
Let's get into biohacking,
the health industry. So biohacking.
Fuck
so just real quick,
that.
I'm going to give you the definition of hacking because I just hate the term life hack, biohack. It's stupid. I can't stand when people use words they don't know what they mean to just mean shit that they want it to. So I'm my first degree is in English. I choose the weight of my words pretty carefully. I try not to use words that I don't mean to the tune that like I don't call people gorgeous when they're pretty. Like those are not interchangeable words to me. Like earlier we talked about aesthetics, like your attractiveness. I don't say attractive to purely mean physically attractive. So hacking, the definition of hacking is the gaining of unauthorized access to data in a system or computer. So I really want you to pay attention to the gaining of unauthorized access is the main tenet of hacking. You're not supposed to be there and you're breaching the security to gain access. So you hack a bank for bank information, things like that. Biohacking can be described as citizen or do-it-yourself biology. For many biohackers, this consists of making small incremental diet or lifestyle changes to make small improvements in your health and well-being. So nothing about that is unpermitted data or unpermitted information. You are not hacking into your biology without authorization. It's literally biohacking is a horseshit term for nutrition. It's taking control of your health through lifestyle change, and they just termed it to make it sound like cool and trendy in Silicon Valley. Biohacking.
Yeah, it's an example of great marketing.
Yeah,
like everybody
like
wants to.
Superfoods.
Yeah,
like, fuck super. We'll talk about superfoods next time. Fuck superfoods.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as superfoods.
Like, if you ever want me to go on a rant, bring up biohacking, say you biohacked your way into whatever, you are not going to outsmart your body just because you do this one thing and it gives you a positive result. It was already designed to do that.
Right.
You didn't make it do. Yeah.
Hacking?
You're not opening up its code to break through firewall. I don't know. Bro, I don't know. Like,
I'm changing the G's and P's and stuff, and I'm like, altering DNA. That's what I'm hacking that shit.
And then we could even get into using your DNA for how you should eat and how bullshit that is. Like, there's a lot there. Now, that's maybe less bullshit as much as it's not as advanced as people try to apply it to. But going back to biohacking, like, you can't biohack your body.
Well, and so to prove your point, these are the examples of biohacking. Are you ready? Decreasing your risk of developing a disease that you're genetically predisposed to. That kind of sounds like eating healthy to not get diabetes or heart disease. Yeah. Helping achieve physical, mental, or emotional changes such as losing weight or reducing depression symptoms. Helping optimize the bodily functions such as your blood pressure or gut bacteria. What were the other ones? So simple ways to biohack at home. Drink caffeine.
Oh, no.
Oh.
That's so magical.
Yeah, I'm the guy that hacked the Gibson. Yeah.
Yeah.
Try an elimination diet. Wait, so if you're inflamed and you cut foods out, first off, don't try an elimination diet. You should not try an elimination diet without a professional helping you. Cut small things out at a time.
But if you're super inflamed all the time and you remove something that's causing the inflammation, you didn't biohack yourself.
Yeah. Drinking caffeine? What about that as a hack?
Dude,
caffeine is very readily available, and I drink it every day. I didn't realize I was hacking all this time.
Like,
God. Try intermittent fasting. So apparently IF is a biohack. Not eating for certain periods of time and random windows is biohack.
Oh, this is painful.
Get some blue light for a mood boost. Just so you're aware, blue light is what you want to eliminate prior to bedtime because it's associated with your circadian rhythm.
Yeah,
TVs,
but if you have seasonal affective disorder,
the sun emits blue light, but yeah, get blue. So go the fuck outside is what it's saying.
Yeah.
Like go outside for a mood boost. Yes, we're aware that like moving around in the sunlight and getting like outdoor fresh air activity is biohacking now. It's not just like a good recommendation. We're biohacking.
This is oh god.
Yeah, so biohacking does have some merits. Some forms are to do at home are easy to reverse if something goes wrong. Experiencing yourself without taking proper precautions can lead to unexpected side effects. Talk to a doctor or nutritionist before making any significant changes to your diet. I do appreciate they include that.
But those unintended side effects might be bioviruses or
like what the fuck, man? Like, but that's not bio. What about that is a hack? Like that's what I get. Life hack. I mean,
human malware.
Even that fits more so. Like life hack is like typically using something for an unintended purpose to make it more functional. I understand that. But some of it's stupid, like building a couch out of pallet wood for no reason. But there I've seen some good, like, using the toilet paper roll to hold wrapping paper. You cut it and wrap it around it so you're wrapping paper. I mean, like stuff like that is conventional. It's conventional engineering.
But using rhodiola extract to battle chronic stress it's not biohacking.
Right, yeah.
Rhodiola is an adaptogen. That's what it does.
Exactly. Like drinking caffeine to have more energy. It's the point of caffeine. It's not a biohack. Yeah, but so it's just
that's good marketing. That's great marketing.
Just stay away from terms like that. It's annoying. But yeah, so that's our trend and we don't agree with it. You'll notice most trends we're not going to agree with, but there probably will be some that we do wind up aligning with or finding to be good. But yeah, so just sign off. Once again, I'm Blair Solberger. I own the Human Element Nutrition. If you missed my contact at the beginning, you can find me on Instagram at the Human Element Nutrition. My website is humanelementnutrition.com. And my email is humanelementnutrition@gmail.com. And if you have any questions about nutrition, you should follow me. And I post a lot of stuff on science and mindset, but I will also be glad to answer questions. We do free consultations if you want to hop on and see if we're a good fit to work together. Yeah, so hit me up, ask me questions. If you want to work together, if you're ready to take control of your health, that's me. Just recently, I was on Dynus Sports podcast, interviewed by it's a Canadian sports podcast, and Nick and I will be on a guest episode doing an episode on addiction, food addiction. Hang on. Go ahead, Nick, with your outro.
Yep. And I'm Nick Schick. I own nothing. I do nothing. I'm in a lot of debt, but I'm in the process of becoming a dietitian. And I think I'm funny sometimes, but you can find me on Instagram again at High on Health. So that's HION_health. And as I create a blog, that'll be plugged in here. And of course, just like all podcasts, for legal reasons, this is not medical advice. While Blair is a dietitian and I am in the process of becoming a dietitian, we're just two assholes giving opinions.
So the podcast we're going to be on is I'm going to be on one with my friend Brittany called Bent by Knowledge, talking about diet fads. So check that out. And then Life and Purpose Behavioral Health is the addiction podcast. And so we're doing an episode on food addiction. And just like what Nick said, so the reason we do free consultations is because I believe that dietitians are like therapists. You should do your due diligence as far as aligning, not confirmation bias. You should be challenged, but aligning with how they communicate and things like that. Not every dietitian is for everybody. They shouldn't just be seen as experts. Like I mentioned before, I think a lot of dietitians are bad at their job. So I'm not saying I'm the best at my job. I mean, I think I do my job well, but I'm not for everybody. So that's why you should do a consultation. You should, if you don't feel like your doctor has your health at mind, you need to see another doctor. Don't accept professionals at face value. You need to find the one that works best with you and what your goals are. They need to align with that. So please, if you're interested in health and getting healthier, see a dietitian. You don't have to live, I'm in Tampa, but you don't have to live here. I do everything digitally. So, we can work with anybody across the country or even outside the country. I'm actually partnering with a trainer in the UK named Adam Hamid to have a joint program. So he would be the trainer and I would be the nutrition. But yeah, so, please, you don't have to go these journeys alone. And a huge part of it is learning from their mistakes. It should be a meaningful connection where you, instead of making those mistakes yourself, mistakes take a long time. It took me 15 years to get to where I'm at. Actually, 17 years. I started this journey when I was 18, so it takes a long time to really make those mistakes and find your footing. And, I still struggle sometimes. It's not like my life is a perfect linear shot. So, learn from our mistakes, learn from my mistakes, and let's work together instead of you trying to do it all on your own.
Boom. And thank you for listening, guys.
Yeah. Thanks for listening. Make sure you like, subscribe, leave a review. We're on multiple platforms. So, if you're on Apple, leave a review and subscribe, share it with your friends if you like the episode. We love some traction. We're just two guys starting out on a podcast, and, we're excited to share our passion with the world.
Exactly. So, and with that, we're out.